The Heart of the City team has used the following exercise as a team away day, and it definitely helped us to understand each other's stresses and trigger points and work towards being a more supportive teammates, as well as feeling better understood as individuals. We'll work through the exercise now to support you in rolling this out to your teams. So first things, take a couple of minutes to think about what stress means. Feel free to jot your ideas down for later. There are a lot of different takes on stress. Some of the responses we may have could be your body's response when it senses danger, that we all experience stress and need it to function. When stress interferes with our lives, it's a problem, and too much of it can make us ill. Left unaddressed, stress can cause mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, and harm our physical health. In 2019, 74% of UK adults said they felt so stressed at some point that they felt overwhelmed and unable to cope. 83% of 18 to 24-year-olds said this in comparison to 65% of people aged 55 and over. The younger workforce are feeling the pressure and the strain. 1 in 6 employees will experience anxiety, depression or stress directly related to work. And over 11 million working days are lost each year because of work-related stress, and stress can contribute to conditions such as anxiety and depression. Luckily, the statistics show that employees working in SMEs are less likely to suffer from work-related stress than those at larger organisations. As small businesses, we're in a position to know our colleagues well. So how do we know if our colleagues are feeling stressed or anxious? Let's have a think about the causes of stress, or stress factors. These are different for every individual, but can include life-related stresses such as leaving home, having children, and relationship problems, home stresses, housing problems, unemployment, social isolation, emotional stress such as peer pressure and coping with uncertainty, and physical stress, late nights, lack of routine, poor diet, or misuse of alcohol or drugs. And finally, work stresses, starting a new job, increased workload, poor relationships with colleagues, and fear of redundancy. Next, let's look at how we know if we're under too much stress and what types of behaviours we expect to see. Stress indicators tend to fall into 3 categories: emotional, behavioural, and physical. Emotional stresses are shown here: irritability, feeling tearful, being argumentative, and struggling with confidence. Behavioural stresses such as being indecisive, consuming more stimulants than usual, having difficulty concentrating, or difficulty remembering things. And physical stresses, constant tiredness, headaches, stomach aches, and lack of care over your appearance. So how does the stress container exercise work? The size of your stress container is dictated by your tolerance to stress. If you have a high tolerance, you're likely to have a big container that can hold lots of stress factors. If you have a low tolerance, your stress container will be smaller. Thinking about your stress container helps you not only to understand your stress, but the stresses that your colleagues feel, and it helps you to ask yourself, am I coping? Your coping mechanisms are the way you relieve your stress. There are healthy and unhealthy ones. Healthy coping mechanisms, such as getting enough sleep, seeing friends, and eating well, are positive. They mean the tap at the bottom of the container will release the stress and you'll start to feel better. On the other hand, unhealthy coping mechanisms, like not sleeping or drinking too much alcohol, prevent the stress from being released, so your stress container stays full. Everyone has unhealthy coping mechanisms, but balance is important to make sure our stress containers aren't full. You can learn new coping mechanisms though. Think about some healthy ways you relieve stress, and try to use them next time your stress container gets full. Now take a few minutes to think about what your stress container looks like and consider these questions. What are my stress factors? What happens when my stress container overfills? And what coping mechanisms do I use? When you're running this exercise in a team setting and everyone has thought about their own personal stress factors, you could have a discussion to encourage people to reflect as a team. What size is your stress container? Were you surprised by any of the stress factors that went into your container? It's particularly relevant in a team setting to understand what happens when your stress container overflows. What's your stress signature? And what are your coping mechanisms? This then leads on effectively to a team conversation about regular team check-ins and what they could look like. You could agree as a team to check in with each other or yourself using some well-being questions. Mental health check-ins. How do I feel today, mentally and physically? Sometimes it's easier just to put a number on it, just as we do at the start of some of our team meetings. Encourage your team to check in with their own well-being. Am I drinking enough water and eating a balanced diet? How did I sleep last night? Did I feel rested when I woke up? And my stress container. How full's my container today? Am I using healthy coping strategies? And are they working?